You can slate whenever you're ready.
Simon Williams, reading for Wonder Man.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boy Petey. Say what's up, Petey.
Hey, what's going on?
Unfortunately, we're discussing one of the weakest characters in the entire Marvel history, Wonder Man. And why? Because it's an upcoming movie, and for some odd reason, Petey seems to think that he's one of the unsung heroes of Marvel Comics. Selector, please hit me with this. What are we talking about?
Okay, I'm gonna say something and then do a 180. This Wonder Man, this Avengers issue is one of the most important comics of the Marvel universe.
Get out of here.
It is one of the most important. And
Great tell.
I'll say that, but then I'm going to do my 180 and say the character is still a cipher. So you can actually make him into a black guy. There's history with him, but at the same time, since he only became like a kind of superhero slash stuntman, he didn't live up to the potential of this issue, and he didn't. His personality really never really came out. So ultimately, they can do whatever they want with him.
So do what you want with my body. Do what you want with my body.
There's not that much in there to do, like Blade. Even though Blade obviously didn't go white to black, ultimately having nothing to, and not having a lot of storyline to go along with, you can do what you want with this character. Sorry to say, I would rather they keep him a white dude and play out that, but at the same time, I can't fault him. There's not much there with him. But going back to this issue introduced Wonder Man, and they say Marvel couldn't keep him Wonder Man because obviously they would get sued by DC, right? DC already sued this other comic company that had Wonder Man, so they obviously would have sued Marvel if they continued with the character, right? So in this issue, in my opinion, this I think Jim Shooter said he studied all the Marvel comic books and he siphoned it down to when he went to DC. So in this issue, basically Wonder Man's introduced, but he is in the classic form of a Marvel hero, right? Or Marvel villain, right? Because he's introduced. Those are just the what's those guys? The Masters of Evil, right? So we get to the story here. Simon Williams is this business owner, right? And he basically goes bankrupt because some of the patents that he tried to embezzle money while he was struggling with his inventions didn't match up to Tony Stark's, so he got caught embezzling, and then he going to jail. So when they're about to throw him in the slammer, for the 2 seconds that he's out, he runs into the Masters of Evil, and they're like, "Hey, we can give you more power, right? You just have to go to South America, right?" So this whole aspect of him having a business and having some knowledge of science has been kind of tossed out. I think the only person who mentioned it was I think John Byrne in the Iron Man story, where villain says, "I thought you were somewhat of a scientist," and it's like he turned into a stuntman. That is so many levels lower. Nothing academic with him. So ultimately, we have some Avengers drama here as usual, but the Masters of Evil, we have Simon Williams. They're hitting him with this ionic ray, and we see the effects that happen to him, right? And the test goes, perfectly, or so it seems. And he feels like he's, of sheer power. He can deflect bullets. They put him in the costume. They call him, he says the corny costume and the corny name, which is Stan's want to, kind of make it less serious. But we see that he's strong. They say his fist is strong as Thor's hammer, and they show he's stronger than the Executioner, right? So, and he has jets on his side, so he can, kind of fly like Iron Man, right? So their idea is to send him to have a mock battle with the Avengers, send him in to save the day for the Avengers, then he would turn on the Avengers, and then they would kill the Avengers. That's the plan. The thing is, at the same time, he's on a limited schedule. He can only last for so long, or his power is going to run out. And they have a cure, but they're saying you have to stop the Avengers, or else this is not going to happen. So obviously, we see this battle that happens, and then Wonder Man comes in and stops everything. Sorry for the bad color. There's nothing I can do for the printing from the back in the day, but they look at him and like, wow, this guy's pretty good. You know, they try to ask him some questions, but he's saying, hey, I hope to find you, this, that, and the other, right? He doesn't really want to explain, but they take him in. He's one of the Avengers now, right? But he's slowly figuring out, even though like because he has a week's time, it's slowly running out for him, right? So then when they go to find the Master Evils again, next thing you know, they slowly start to, when they get to fight, they slowly start to lose, right? Iron Man gets caught in this thing. Thor's already getting into the battle. Who punches him? Well, Wonder Man puts him in a cave and separates him from the hammer. You know what happens? In 60 seconds, Thor's going to turn into a human, right? Then Giant Man comes in there, makes short work of Giant Man too. Then he's going after Iron Man, right? Now I think this Iron Man does some tricks to try to get out of it, but they're still going back and forth in the battle, right? Iron Man is always shown to be the most resourceful of the team. All right, and some more ads, right? So Wonder Man has made short work of everybody, but at the same time, he's like, I can't do this. He turns on the Master of Evil, right? So at the same time, once he turns on him and the Avengers he frees Thor, right? He moves the boulder. He starts, beating up these guys. They hit him with a ray to kill him. And then the Avengers come out there, but he didn't get the cure in time, right? So,
he died.
And this thing is the first... This is the first Marvel death, first poignant death before it might have been, I'm not sure if it's before Sue and Johnny Storm's father, but this death would impact Jim Shooter. No, okay, so this death was very important in comic books. So important when they decided to make the Vision. Roy Thomas said, hey, the Vision is going to have Wonder Man's brain patterns to say, hey, this solar hero is kind of in the Vision, right? And then at the same time, they went through time. Kang brings back Wonder Man as this kind of, time displaced villain. And this leads into the origin of the Vision. And then I guess the reader response was enough that when they were doing a new lineup for the Avengers, he was brought back by Black Talent, right? He was brought back, but as a zombie. But at the same time, he didn't die. Once Black Talent's control was over him, he stayed alive. So they found out that the ion power kind of changed his body. So his body was it was just in a hibernation stasis. Obviously, it's like comic books. So he basically he can't die, right? Because he's kind of this stasis. He has this ionic power. His eyes are not, you can't see the pupils. They're all look like energy. He can control it, but only for short periods, right? And he also has a brother. Well, they kind of, in this storyline here, they're kind of fighting. This leads to his real brother coming in and saying Vision's a bad copy. But this kind of plays out that Wonder Man kind of gives up, hey, Vision kind of took everything from me. He got my brain patterns. He's married to someone who could have liked me, that sort of thing. And then the only other storyline they were kind of doing was that in this fight here, he kind of freezes up. So ultimately, do I have anything else? And then at some point later,
they were like brothers. They were like brothers, or they acted like brothers.
No, he has an actual brother called the Grim Reaper, a villain, and then they try to play Vision and Simon Williams as brothers since he has his brain patterns. But later, as you go along, later on, he becomes a stuntman, joins the West Coast Avengers. when Byrne's on it, Byrne plays up the aspect that Wonder Man has. It doesn't like the idea that Vision has his brain patterns. So when Vision is wiped, he says, "I'm not giving the brain patterns back." He doesn't want to say to Wanda that he loves her, but he's like saying that's the main reason. She's really upset and kind of hates him for a long time. And then ultimately that leads to some other storylines. But he ultimately gets his own comic book. He had some one shots, but I think it's by Gerard Jones and Jeff Johnson. He had his own series, and at some point I don't remember when he gets killed, even though he's a character that's not supposed to die. And then ultimately Kurt Busiek brings him back. He has a whole new look and new energy and new power. He has a romance with Scarlet Witch, and that kind of dies out. And then, now he's been a villain to the Avengers. So he's kind of like whatever they want him to be. But that initial story was very poignant, and it led to, is before the death of Phoenix, any other real poignant death of Gwen Stacy, any other poignant deaths. He was one of the early ones, right?
But he was. But your point is that some people complain why he's a black guy as opposed to whether the character is even needed. Because my question comes in like, why is this character even needed? There's more than a million characters they need to do, and Marvel needs to be focusing more on getting the Secret Wars and rolling out the X-Men. Why come up with another character that doesn't do anything but muddle the whole situation?
They want something that they can have cheap. All right, so I will go back to saying, I think Cal was bringing up that, why are they making him a black guy? I think your point, those 2 points, that and your point of they could do other stuff that'd be more successful, both are valid points. Ultimately, in my opinion, I feel like, and I could be wrong, is that this is going to be a cheap way to go. He's not going to be a person who, they're having him have this actor backdrop. So that they limit the effects for, how much effect are there going to be any effects? Or is he just an actor trying to be playing a part as Wonder Man? Is he an actual superhero or not? Are they going to play up the fact that it is a white guy and it's just a black guy coming in for the role, and somehow it's a power, he becomes powerful? So I don't know how they're going to play that, but
I just it's like the problem I think that the MCU has, and I know we may digress a little bit from talking about Underland, because we always write.
Well, I got to the history.
But the key thing here is that people need to gravitate to characters that can stand up. When you have characters that don't stand out, and I think we've touched it before, where Marvel here is mining the B characters or C characters. You have a whole bunch of A-list characters, such as the X-Men, who haven't even been brought out to play yet. I'm trying to say, we did see Wolverine, but we have Cyclops, we have Beast, we have Psylocke, we have Jean Grey, but I guess we don't want to do another Dark Phoenix saga. We got
Raven. We'll be doing another Dark Phoenix saga.
They are?
I will bet on that.
I'm not betting on it at all, but I would think that they learned their lesson. I mean, isn't the Fantastic Four is going straight Galactic? They're not doing well. Then again, they did do Galactus.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I get you want to use something that's similar again, but in the same hand, I think Wonder Man is just out there now. I don't care if he's black or not. My question is a character. Probably he may play the character great, especially he did a decent job as Manta. I liked him as Manta in Aquaman, right?
Yeah, me too.
But the question is this character needed? If you want to big him up and have people have a feeling for him, and then he dies in Secret Wars, then okay, we get the reason why he's there. You try to get him up, but I can't see him being more of a. I mean, what does he bring? Are they going to start West Coast Avengers for God's sakes? I don't know.